Suspension of Section 45 of the Income Tax Act has been a point of debate and consultation between business and government. This suspension saw one acquisition and black empowerment deal scuppered and has halted a number of deals due to the tax implications. Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan offered a short-term solution for businesses to proceed with acquisitions, but also pointed out that a set of longer-term solutions would remain an object of investigation next year. Joining us in studio to tell us more is Ernie Lai King, Director at Norton Rose. Thanks so much, Ernie, for joining us today. Well, the suspension of Section 45 of the Income Tax Act, as I say, has been a major point of debate, and there's been this consultation between business and government. At the top, what exactly is being debated?
Well, the good news is that the suspension has been lifted. The sense has prevailed, and as a result of the consternation and disruption that's been caused out in the market, sense has prevailed and the suspension has been lifted, and there are certain short-term measures and long-term measures that are in place.
So let's take a look at some of those short-term measures and how that alleviates some of the pressure for business moving forward.
Right. The concern was really based on not so much on an intra-group type of transaction, which is what Section 45 deals with. That's transactions within a group of companies where businesses are shifted around. That wasn't so much the problem. The problem for SARS was how that was being financed. And they had a problem with a particular way called debt pushdowns. And to be brief, what was happening was SARS became concerned with the level of interest expenditure which was being incurred in the financing of these intragroup transactions, and this deductible interest expenditure they saw as a loss to the fiscus because they felt on the other side the lender was not being taxed on the interest income. So they had initially a bit of a radical proposal to just simply suspend Section 45, and as a result of consultations with business and the market, they've now pulled back on that, and they said what we will do is we'll have a look at these transactions, we'll really allocate them into two channels, a green channel and an amber channel. A green channel, the minister will gazette certain circumstances and conditions where those Section 45 transactions will be fine and the interest deduction will be allowed. The amber channel will be the ones we're not quite sure whether there's a loss to the fiscus and whether we should allow you with an interest deduction, and come and have a chat to us, come and apply to SARS whether you can get that interest deduction. We'll have a look at the transaction and we'll decide at our discretion whether you can get it or not get it. And then of course there's ones which are probably the red channel, which is you're just not going to get the interest deduction.
Yeah, well, the green and the red channel is probably easy to decipher. When it comes to those amber challenges, though, it seems like that's going to be a bit tricky. Just how clear enough lines are being placed at this stage to determine who falls on which side of the barrier?
Well, that's an excellent point. The problem is we're not sure. The consultations and the amendments have just been released. The latest set of amendments have just been released, and we're all trying to internalize them. Of course, the whole objective was to try to not stand in the way of economic activity, but in this quest to stop and plug every possible loophole, there is inevitably going to be administrative problems and administrative delays as application is made and as debate is entered into with SARS. And then the final outcome as to whether we'll allow these transactions or not allow these transactions, obviously that's all going to take time.
How long a process do you see this actually being before all players are eventually on the same page and in agreement as to this law?
The conditions for the green channel, that still has to be promulgated. When we look at what's promulgated, and if that's clear enough and the circumstances and the factors are laid out clear enough, that will be fine. If you're green, it's fine, you can go ahead. It's the amber ones, as you say, that's going to cause the problems. How long that will take will really depend on how quickly SARS can deploy skilled personnel to examine and take consultation with the applicants, and how long that whole process will be in finally reaching a decision, whether it's green or whether it's red.
While we go through this entire process, I mean, it's prompted a lot of analysis on how South Africa's tax environment influences FDI and whether the country is still the preferred gateway for business into Africa. What's your standing in that regard, or our standing in that regard in your books?
As far as the tax system is concerned, the financial infrastructure, the governance that we have, I think South Africa stands as a perfect gateway for the rest of Africa. We have very wide tax treaty networks. We do have this concession for foreign headquarter companies. The problem is that we start off with something and then we add on the ifs and buts afterwards. And the ifs and buts adds to the process of trying to do business in South Africa. Overall, the tax system in South Africa is not that friendly to overseas investors. For example, if you want to go and try to apply for a VAT registration, it takes a long time, a relatively long time, and there are problems in that registration. There aren't particularly attractive incentives for overseas investors to come into South Africa, tax holidays, that type of thing. That isn't there. But more importantly, though, it's not only the tax issues. There are other issues outside of the tax arena which makes South Africa a doubtful place for some investors. The mining debate, for example, and nationalisation debate, which adds to the problems that we have in making us a properly attractive destination.
And of course, debates raging on all those fronts still. Ernie, we're going to have to leave that conversation there for today. Thanks so much for having joined us at the desk.
Thank you.
Of course, Ernie Lai King, Director at Norton Rose.